Hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog where I'm gonna be reading A Court of Mist and Fury. So A Court of Mist and Fury is book 2 in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, which is fantasy romance, romantasy. I don't really know what it is. I don't really know the difference between them either, but it has fantasy and it has romance. And I will link below the video of me reading the first book if you want to see that first. And the first book I liked, but I didn't love. But like everyone that I've seen reading this series, or most people at least, they love this book the most. It's like their favorites, or at least they like it better than the first one. So, even though I didn't love the first book, I was still very, very excited to get into this one. And like I already knew spoilers in terms of the romance, but I don't really care about romance. So I didn't really care that I knew spoilers. And in terms of the plot, I knew nothing going into it. So still very excited to see where it was gonna go. And this video definitely has spoilers about everything that happens in this book. And having said that, let's just get into it. Okay, so I am on page 203, which is 1/3 into A Court of Mist and Fury. And I can already tell you that I'm definitely enjoying this book more than the first one. And like I'm liking both the plot and the characters more in this book, for sure. And so in this one, in the beginning, we are following Feyre as she's like really struggling with like all that she went through in the first book, and she has like nightmares, and she, he's dealing like with all of that trauma, and she's really like going through it. And you also meet a new character called Ianthe. I'm not entirely sure how to say her name, but she's the high priestess, and she's like staying there with her at Tamlin's house. And it's actually like the day comes of Feyre and Tamlin's wedding, and Feyre is like really unsure if she actually like wants to go through with it, and she's like kind of panicking as they're about to get married. And then Rhysand gets there, and because it's time for him to like take her after the deal that they made, and he actually like he could feel her through their bond. He could feel her like asking for help, basically asking for a rescue, because she didn't really want to go through with the wedding. And he went there to get her, and she's like, how dare Tamlin let like him take me? And I'm like, girl, you made a deal, like you made a deal, now you keep your end. Like what do you want? She's like, I made this deal out of desperation. And I'm like, yeah, but you did do it, so like own up to it. So yeah, she goes with Rhys anyway. And he says that like while she's there that week with him, he wants to teach her like how to read, and also how to like shield her mind from him and like other people that have the same powers that he does. And he also thinks that since she was like brought back to life and made Fae by the power of the 7 High Lords, he thinks that she might have like the power of the 7 High Lords, which is insane. And he also tells her that like a war is gonna start, because the king of Hybern, he wants to like get the territories like south of the wall. That week is over. She goes back to Tamlin's house. She tells him like about what Rhys said, like about the upcoming war. And he doesn't want her to fight. He doesn't want her to even like see if she has those powers. He doesn't want her to train, and like he gives her no freedom whatsoever. And like Lucian is telling him that like he should let her train, use her powers, learn even like what powers she actually has. But Tamlin doesn't let her, and he actually like one day locks her up in the house, and she's like, freaking out. And Riz and Moore, who's Riz's cousin, not entirely sure if actual cousin, but cousin, they go there and rescue Feyre and like take her away from there and take her with them. And then they go to a city called Valaris, which is City of Starlight, and that is like Riz's home. And we meet like the people that like his friends, basically like his inner circle, and he takes Feyre to meet them to see if she like wants to work with them to like fight in the upcoming war. And that city actually like is safe because Riz was able to protect it with like magic and some charms. And it was the only place he was able to protect from Amaranth, and like she didn't actually know it existed, so that is why it's the only place like still standing like after everything that happened. And yeah, we meet the people that work for Riz, whatever, and we meet Cassian, Azriel, and Amren. And Amren, like, she is Fae, but like she was turned into Fae, if I understood correctly, and she's like something else. I don't know what. Feyre doesn't know what. I'm not entirely sure they exactly know what either, but whatever she is very scary, because Riz is like, if she ever finds out like how to release herself from like this form, like we'll all be in a lot of trouble. And I'm like, that's terrifying, but also so interesting. Like, tell me more. I'm very interested in that. And yeah, they meet, they talk, they all share like their stories, their past, like how they met each other, how they ended up working together. And I really like them when they like were all together. I really like their dynamic. Definitely, like I said, I'm definitely liking the characters like way more in this book. They seem so much more interesting than like Tamlin. And yeah, I'm really liking that. And then I think it's Riz who says that like the King of Hybern wants to resurrect Jurian. And like now that basically Feyre was resurrected and turned into Fae, he must know that there is a way to resurrect people, and so he wants to resurrect that guy. And that wouldn't be good, obviously. And they go talk to the bone carver, I think, in a prison, and they're asking him like if there is a way to resurrect someone, like even without a body, because there is like, I think it's just an eye that they have, but they don't have like a body. And they're asking him if there is like a way to resurrect someone like that. And he says a lot of things. He says, long ago, before the High Fae, before men, there was a cauldron. They say all the magic was contained inside it, that the world was born in it, but it fell into the wrong hands, and great and horrible things were done with it. Things were forged with it. Such wicked things that the cauldron was eventually stolen back at great cost. It could not be destroyed, for it had made all things, and if it were broken, then life would cease to be. So it was hidden and forgotten. Only with that cauldron could something that is dead be reforged like that. The cauldron was hidden at the bottom of a frozen lake in Lapland, and vanished a long, long time ago. I don't know where it went to, or where it is now. Millennia before you were born, the 3 feet on which it stands were successfully cleaved from its base in an attempt to fracture some of its power. It worked, barely. Removing the feet was like cutting off the first knuckle of a finger, irksome, but you could still use the rest with some difficulty. The feet were hidden at 3 different temples, Caesarea, Sangrava, and Ithaca. If they have gone missing, it is likely the cauldron is active once more, and that the wielder wants it at full power and not a wisp of it missing. And then, like, they talk a bit more, and then he says, you know who has the cauldron, Rhysand, who has been pillaging the temples. You only came here to confirm what you have long guessed. And Rhys says, the King of Hybern. And then the bone carver says, with the cauldron, you could do other things and raise the dead. You could shatter the wall. And basically that would mean that the human lands would be not safe from both like the King of Hybern and just other fairies in general. And then the guy continues, when the cauldron was made, its dark maker used the last of the molten ore to forge a book, the Book of Breathings. In it, written between the carved words, are the spells to negate the cauldron's power or control it wholly. But after the war, it was split into 2 pieces. One went to the Fae, one to the 6 human queens. It was part of the treaty, purely symbolic, as the cauldron had been lost for millennia and considered mere myth. The book was believed harmless because like calls to like, and only that which was made can speak those spells and summon its power. No creature born of the earth may wield it, so the High Lords and humans dismissed it as little more than a historical heirloom. But if the book were in the hands of something reforged, you would have to test such a theory, of course, but it might be possible. So now the High Lord of Summer possesses our peace, and the reigning mortal queens have the other entombed in their shining palace by the sea. Prithian's half is guarded, protected with blood spells, keyed to Summer himself. The one belonging to the mortal queens, they were crafty. When they received their gift, they used their own kind to spell the book, to bind it. So if it were ever stolen, if, let's say, a High Lord were to winnow into their castle to steal it, the book would melt into ore and be lost. It must be freely given by a mortal queen with no trickery, no magic involved. Reunite both halves of the Book of Breathings and you will be able to nullify the powers of the cauldron, hopefully before it returns to full strength and shatters the wall. And that was the last chapter that I read. So, that was a lot of information, which I understood, but also couldn't say it all from the top of my head, which is why I was reading. So yeah, that was a lot, and they have clearly a lot to do. And yeah, I'm liking it. I'm definitely way more invested in the story in the second book than I was in the first book. And like I said, I also definitely like the characters more. Feyre, I still don't really feel a connection to her. I'm not really attached to her. I do feel bad that she's, living through all of this trauma that she's living through, but I feel bad in just a general sense that I will feel bad if anyone was going through it. I don't particularly care about her personally. So yeah, I don't care that much about her. I do like the other characters, their interactions, their dynamic, Rhysand and his people. I do like their dynamic. They seem to be really fun. And yeah, I'm definitely interested in the plot. I am very intrigued. I really want to know more about Amren. Scary, but really intriguing. And yeah, I'm definitely having a good time. I'm, like I said, liking it more than the first book. And yeah, that is it for now. I'm going to read probably another third and I will be back. Okay, so I'm on page 419, which is 2/3 into the book. And in this second third, Rhys thinks that Feyre might be able to track the Book of Breathings. And because it's bound to the powers of the High Lords basically, and she is connected to the powers of all the High Lords, so he thinks that she will be able to track it, but he wants to test that theory by having her retrieve something that belongs to him, but that someone called the Weaver has. And so she goes there tracking the thing, and she actually gets it, but she also gets in trouble while she's there, but she then manages to escape. And then she and Rhys and Cassian and Azriel, maybe, they go to the human lands, and they go to Feyre's sister's house, and their father is not there. So they talk to both Elaine and Nestle, who continue to be as annoying as ever, and they basically want them to contact the queens to get the part of the book that they have. And then while they're waiting for a reply from the queens, some of them, Rhys, Feyre, and Amren, I think, they go to the Summer Court because that's where the other part of the book is. And so they are trying to figure out exactly where it is. And she uses her powers to track the book, and she is with Amren when they almost die when they are trying to get the book. And then they are actually saved by some creatures that Feyre had helped before in the book, and they said they won't forget, and they didn't, and they helped them, and they do find the part of the book that they're looking for. And in the beginning of the book, Riz wanted to teach Farah how to read, and he also was doing that because he thought that it might be necessary to read like the Book of Readings. But it turns out that it's not like in a language that any of them know except for Amren. And she says, it is the Leshon HaKodesh, the holy tongue. And then Riz says, I heard a legend that it was written in a tongue of mighty beings who feared the cauldron's power and made the book to combat it. Mighty beings who were here and then vanished. You are the only one who can uncode it. I thought too that the book might also contain the spell to free you and send you home, if they were the ones who wrote it in the first place. So Amren, like, she knows the language, but not like enough to decode the book, so she's gonna like be studying that language to try to, actually be able to read the book. And then they have a meeting finally with the human queens, and they don't really want to help, and they definitely don't want to like give their part of the book. And they say that they need proof that they are like good people basically, and that they are not the monsters that they fear, I guess. And Moore is like there with them because they also say that like they're not gonna get involved even if it's to like save the humans. They just don't want to get involved at all. And then Moore says, I marched with her, my friend, along with Prince Dracon's legion. Miriam was my friend, and Fairy is now, and your ancestors, those queens who signed that treaty, they were my friends too. And when I look at you, I see nothing of those women in you. When I look at you, I know that your ancestors would be ashamed. There is an island in a forgotten stormy part of the sea, a vast, lush island, shielded from time and spying eyes. And on that island, Miriam and Dracon still live. With their children, with both of their peoples, Fae and human and those in between, side by side, for 500 years they have prospered on that island, letting the world believe them dead. And then it's like when the queens say, give us one shred of proof that you are as you say, a male of peace. This book has been ours to protect for 500 years. We will not hand it over without due consideration. And then like after they, after that meeting, after they go like back home, they are like talking about like what's Moore said, like when they were with the human queens. And Rhys says, 500 years ago, in the years leading up to the war, there was a Fae kingdom in the southern part of the continent. It was a realm of sand surrounding a lush river delta, the Black Land. There was no crueler place to be born a human, for no humans were born free. They were all of them slaves, forced to build great temples and palaces for the high Fae who ruled. There was no escape, no chance of having their freedom purchased. And the queen of the Black Lands, she made Amaranthus seem as sweet as Elaine. Moore explained. And then Rhys continues. Miriam, she was a half-Fae female born of a human mother, and as her mother was a slave, as the conception was against her mother's will, so too was Miriam born in shackles and deemed human, denied any rights to her Fae heritage. And then Amren says, Miriam was given as a wedding gift by the queen to her betrothed, a foreign Fae prince named Dracon. He was horrified and let Miriam escape. Fearing the queen's wrath, she fled through the desert, across the sea, into more desert, and was found by Jurian. She fell in with his rebel armies, became his lover, and was a healer amongst the warriors, until a devastating battle found her tending to Jurian's new Fae allies, including Priest Dracon. Turns out, Miriam had opened his eyes to the monster he planned to wed. He'd broken the engagement, allied his armies with the humans, and had been looking for a beautiful slave girl for 3 years. Jurian had no idea this new ally coveted his lover. He was too focused on winning the war, on destroying Amarantha in the north. As his obsession took over, he was blind to witnessing Miriam and Dracon falling in love behind his back. When Jurian was slaughtered by Amarantha, and during the long centuries after, she told him that what happened to his lover, that she'd betrayed him for a Fae male. Everyone believed Miriam and Dracon perished while liberating her people from the Black Land at the end of the war, even Amarantha. And also, like, they think, I think was Riz that said, maybe it was someone else, that they think that, like, the king wants to resurrect Jurian, and, like, they were saying, like, why would he resurrect Jurian? Like, why would Jurian work with him? Like, the whole thing. And basically, they were saying that, like, now that they know that people can be resurrected, like, he would make Jurian work for him, and in exchange, he would, like, resurrect his lover. But like, she's not even dead actually. So there's that. And so after this whole thing, Riz has a plan to how to show the queens that he is peaceful or whatever. And he and like Farah are distracting some people while Azriel is stealing something, and at the end of what I read, like the last chapter, is when he manages to steal, I think it's an orb, I think. And yeah, that is where I'm at. And my thoughts are still pretty much the same. Like, I am definitely enjoying it more than the first book. I'm certainly not loving it, though. I like it's still too focused on like romance and feelings and stuff, and I just don't really care. Like, is the romance between Farah and Riz better than the one between Farah and Tamlin? Like, yes. Do I personally care? Not in the slightest. And so, you know, there's that. Like, I do like the characters. I do like their dynamic when they're, you know, talking as like friends, as a group. I do like their dynamic a lot. The romance, I honestly couldn't care any less about. But I am interested in the plot. I am interested in the like fantasy part, but I'm not obsessed with it. I'm not like loving it, but I am liking it. I'm enjoying it. Farah, like, I still honestly, I feel no attachment to her whatsoever. Like, I do feel more attached to some of the other characters more than her, honestly. And I don't know if it's her. I don't know if it's me, but we're not connecting. But yeah, I'm liking it. I'm not loving it. Some of the other characters, like More, I really like her. And like Amren, I am so interested in like what she is. And you know, I want to like learn everything about her. And yeah, I also do like Cassian and Azriel, and I do like Riz, and I guess I like Farah. I don't really connect, you know? But yeah, that's how it's going. I am enjoying it more than the first one. I'm not, like I said, loving it. But yeah, I'm going to read the last third. I'm going to finish the book, and I will be back with what happened and my thoughts on it. Okay, so I have finished the book, and in this last third, Riz tells Farah about his like whole history, his whole past with Tamlin, and like why they hate each other. And then Lucian actually finds, like, Lucian and some other guys find Farah like in the woods, and he wants her to like go back to Tamlin's place, but she, you know, obviously won't, and she like makes him leave, and he does leave, and then she and Riz go to an inn, and obviously the only room available has one bed, you know, obviously. And then like the next day, maybe the next day, I'm not entirely sure, they get attacked, and Riz is like shot with poisoned arrows, and he's like taken somewhere, but then like Farah actually like finds him and rescues him. And like before she is able to fully rescue him, she goes find the Surreal and like ask what is the antidote for that poison, and the Surreal also lets her know that she and Riz are mates, which like she had no idea, but Riz already knew. And then after she kind of like storms off, he tells her like kind of a bit of his history with Amarantha, and also like how he realized that Pharaoh was his mate, and like how long he has known, and you know, all of that. And then they have a meeting finally with the human queens, and they show them the like Valaris, like the city that Riz has been protecting this whole time, with the orb that Azriel stole. But the queens say that they're not gonna help anyway. They're not gonna give like them their part of the book. And then one of the queens actually leaves the book and a note behind saying that they should not trust the other queens, and like she actually wants to help, so she leaves that behind. And then, you know, they go back home, and Amarin is working on like decoding the book, and they actually are attacked by the King of Hybern's like army creatures, whatever. And the human queen that helped them is actually like dead. She is like delivered to them basically and dies there. So, she was, the others found out that she helped them and they killed her. And also the queens, like after they were shown Valaris, they told the king of Hybern like where Valaris is and like that it exists, and that is how he was able to attack. And then Amren actually finally decodes the book, and she says that like Farah has to find the cauldron and like say a spell basically. So they go find the cauldron, and it was actually like a trap, and Jurian is already like back to life, and he finds them and he gets them, and they are taken to the king. And actually Tamlin and Lucian are also there because Tamlin made a deal with the king of Hybern to basically get Farah back. And then Farah's sisters are also like brought in because like the queens want immortal life, which the king of Hybern will give to them, but he wants to first, or maybe I'm guessing they want first to have proof that it is safe to be turned into like Fae, to be immortal. And so they are going to use Farah's sisters to like go through that transformation to prove to them that it is safe. And they put Elaine first, I think, and then Nesta. And after like they come out, Lucian says that Elaine is his mate, which I already knew because I know some spoilers of the romances, so I knew that already. And yeah, they're Fae now. All of the three sisters are Fae now. And then Farah has like a plan on basically how to save her sisters from like the situation that they're all in. And so she asks the king of Hybern to break the bond she has with Rhys, and she makes it seem like she was kind of forced like through the bond to be with Rhys, and she tells Tamlin that actually she wants to go back with him. And so while all that is happening, Moore and the others, they take her sisters and they leave, and now like the bond is broken and Farah goes to Tamlin's house. And then we see that she actually, like the bond that was broken was the deal, the bargain that they made, not the mate bond, because that's kind of unbreakable, I guess. And like the night before, they had made her the High Lady of the Night Court. So now she is basically going to be a spy in like with Tamlin and like gather information to the others. And that is pretty much what happened. And let's go into my final thoughts. So starting off with the characters and starting off with Farah, like I said, I still didn't really connect to her that much. I still don't feel that much towards her, but I did definitely like her more in this book than in the first one. And I did like her, like I did like to see her like accept her powers and like grow into her powers and become more confident for sure. But like the emotional connection, I still don't really feel it. And then Rhys, he was definitely like much better than Tamlin, both as just a character and also a love interest. Although I don't care about the romance, like I don't hate it. I don't care about it, but I don't hate it. And with Tamlin, I did hate it. So, better as a love interest and much better as a character. Like he's actually interesting. Tamlin was just there. And Rhys is actually interesting, and I did really like to learn about his backstory, about his past, and about his like history with the others and their connection. And speaking of the others, I absolutely love them. I love all of them, like Moore, Cassian, Azriel, and Amren. Loved all of them. Love their dynamic together. And again, I'm so interested in Amren and like her story and like what she is. And I wonder if she's going to, be freed from whatever she has going on. And yeah, I really, really like them. So in terms of the characters, like definitely much, much better than the first book. They were all so much more like interesting and like such better characters. So yeah, definitely really like the characters way more in this book. And the plot I was also interested in, especially like towards the end. The rest of the book, I was just like, okay, like this is interesting. I'm not obsessed with it, but it's interesting. But at the end, like I was very into it. Like I was very invested because there was so much happening. It was so action-packed, and I was very into it. And like the romance was definitely important for what happened at the end. It was definitely like a very crucial part of the plot, but also there was more going on, you know? So I was very into what was happening at the end. I was on the edge of my seat, and I did really, really, really like the end. Overall, however, there was just way too much romance for me, which I 100% expected. Like, that's what I was thinking would happen. But yeah, there was a lot. I don't hate it, like I said, but also I don't care about it. So it was just too much for me. But yeah, like, I'm unsure about the rating, because like most of the book, I was thinking of giving it like 3.5 stars. But then the ending, I really, really, really liked it. But like, is the ending enough to give it 4 stars? I don't think so. Like, it doesn't feel like a 4 star, but also doesn't feel like 3.5. So I think, for the first time in my life, because I always say that I don't give quarter stars. Like, I always end up deciding one way or another. But like, I finished this book over 24 hours ago, and I've been thinking about what to rate it, and I don't know. Like, I can't decide if it's 3.5 or 4, because it doesn't feel like either of them. So I think, for the first time ever, I'm going to give a book 3.75, because that feels right, you know? So yeah, I think it is 3.75. And if I change my mind when I do my wrap up, I will go with whatever rating I change my mind to. But for now, it really doesn't feel like anything else. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give it 3.75 stars. And yeah, that is everything for this video. I'm definitely very excited to see like where things go now that Farah is a spy at Tamlin's house. I'm very interested to see like how that goes. So I definitely want to read the next book soon-ish. But yeah, for now, that is everything. It's everything for this video. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you have enjoyed it. And if you did, give it a like and subscribe. And I will talk to you next time. Bye!